Ron and Brian podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
And good evening, everybody. It is time for the long-awaited episode 334 of the Ron and Brian podcast. Brian, my friend, how the hell are you this cold, wintry Sunday night?
You know, buddy, when it gets this kind of temperature, when the northeast of the United States of America reaches these frigid climate conditions, I want you to know something. I miss you. I miss the heck out of you. It is not the same. I don't know if people are realizing this. Maybe you are, watching this not live. You're watching this on, on the internet, weeks, months, years, centuries after this. Ron was not able to do the show last week. This is 2 weeks since the last time that I was able to sit across from you and talk about the goings on in the world, which I'm going through withdrawal here. So I need as much concentrated Ron as I can.
And I think you might be on your computer microphone, not your attached microphone. But check
God damn it. Is that happening here? I'm going to jump out. I will test. I will be right back.
All right. And while Brian's gone, we can talk about how I was a little under the weather last week. Unfortunately unable to do it. The people voted on Brian doing a show all by himself, and that was a resounding no. So appreciate the vote of confidence from everybody out there. But we are back now live here Sunday night. Ron and Brian ready to go as soon as Brian gets his microphone situation figured out. Let's hear it.
How about now?
Much better. 110% better.
It was using the headphones.
There you go.
It was using the headphones right off the bat. Joe is already coming. She's coming to attack me here. Sitting there saying minority ownership gives me less of an understanding of technology. I'm going to tell you something, people. I don't blame you. I don't think you. Thanks, Janelle. Thank you for the vote of confidence. I am much better. I feel much better, especially now that I get to see my Ron. Ron, how are you doing?
Well, feeling much better. As I was explaining to everyone, doctors checked me out. They said that I had been poisoned with Novichok. It is a military-grade nerve agent. I believe Putin used it against Alexei Navalny years ago. Kind of coincidental that, I was spending some time with Brian talking lovingly about how he wanted to get this title belt back in his apartment. And then all of a sudden I fall ill due to a strange poisoning. But I'm not going to accuse you of anything, Brian.
Ron, I'm going to win that belt fair and square come Super Bowl. It's inevitable. It is inevitable. We've never had a champion 2 years running. This year will not break that tradition.
All right. Well, I admire your persistence. I like when you're confidently wrong. In the meantime, let's get things rolling with Drink of the Week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud.
Drink of the Week.
Pleasure.
Pause.
Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week.
All right, Brian, what did you bring for Drink of the Week this week?
I am bringing from our good friends. We did this. You introduced me to this brand, the Hitachino Nest.
Yes.
This is their red rice. It is a complex sake-like flavors with a malt sweet note. It's got hints of strawberry in the nose and palate. It's an intriguing mix of sake, malt, and bitterness in the finish. It's coming from Japan's most prestigious brewery, Hitachi Nest Red Rice Ale. It is brewed with barley, red rice, and sake yeast. Let me tell you a little about the brewing process here, Ron. It starts with the polishing, washing, soaking, and steaming of rice. 25% of the total grain bill. to break down the complex type B starch molecules into short type A ones. Only type A starch molecules can be converted into the sugar by the use of the sake yeast. Afterwards, this Pilsner malt is added to the mashing process before lautering. Then, clearly I'm reading this one. Hallertauer hops are added in the brew kettle, further complicating matters. 2 different yeasts, ale and sake yeast, must be used to be regular, so as to not to convert the rice sugars into too much alcohol. Beer Advocate says that the Hitachino Nest red rice comes in at 84. As an ABV, it's 7%. I'm going to vote for it right now.
I mean, take a sip. I have tried that one before. I'll be interested to hear your feedback on it.
Not a fan. No. No.
There is something, and it's amazing because the Hitachino White Ale, one of the best beers I've had, and I think you would back me up on that. The red rice version, not good.
It tastes like olive juice. Like it tastes like olives. It is so bitter and disgusting. Do I have to finish this?
Listen, if I had to finish my Mountain Dew, my hard Mountain Dew the other week, Baja Blast, I feel yes, you need to finish your Red Rocket beer right there.
This gets 5 dooms. Doom.
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 Doom. All right. Ron, what are you drinking?
Yes.
Drinking?
I went a little flavorful this week, hopefully a good flavorful from the good folks at Allagash. This is their chocolate orange porter, inspired by the tempting combination of chocolate and orange. They created this smooth porter with cocoa nibs that deliver notes of dark chocolate and roasted coffee, while a combination of sweet orange peel and orange zest draw out a hint of citrus in the beer's finish. From Maine with love, clocking in at 7%. It's Allagash Chocolate Orange Porter. Take a look at that. Styling and profiling in its Ron and Brian podcast drink of the week glass. Let's have a sip here and see how it is.
Look at him. Look at that. That looks like a handsome porter.
Ooh, it's tasty.
Everything mine is not.
Everything yours is not. I will say this, and I was consulting with moderator Marty, friend of the podcast, earlier, because I gave her one of these to try. Also, I will agree with you. You get the orange flavor, you get the orange peel at the end. Not getting a lot of chocolate. You are getting the good porter mouthfeel. So I would say it's a good beer. I would call it more an orange porter than a chocolate orange porter.
Okay. Remember a couple of years ago, there was like a Nestle Yingling beer?
Hershey's, Yingling,
that's what it
did
was.
Did a chocolate porter.
That collab,
which was very tasty.
That collab was not this.
Not that, no. It will be painful for you to finish that down, but you are a man of honor, and I know you will get it done.
It's disgusting. It's just disgusting.
It's beef of the week time.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
You know what's funny is, we were up to see you last weekend, and you were kind enough to purchase a variety of the different Hitachino beers, and I saw that you had given us 3 of the red rice ones, and I was just like, oh, thank you, even though I knew it tasted like that.
No, I owe you. You knew when I handed it to you, it tasted like shit?
Yeah, I had gotten one. I'd found one of those at King of Prussia beer outlet and drank it.
Can I just say something?
You, of course.
I don't know if you've opened those beers yet, but what I would like you to do is when the Hasidic Jews in your neighborhood take to the streets and are protesting because the local townsmen have voted a referendum supporting Hamas and their fight for ownership of Gaza, and the Jews in your neighborhood go rampaging, I want you to throw those full bottles of beer at the roaming, marauding Hasidim to let them know, A, that these streets are not theirs, and that there's a proper way to behave but also just to get rid of these beers without having to drink them. This is just disgusting.
All right, fair enough. Brian, besides the beer you're drinking, what's bothering you this week?
Our Patreon members.
Really?
And I know they say, don't bite the hand that feeds you. I'll be doing so this week. A week ago, we pushed the podcast one day from Sunday to Monday because Ron wasn't feeling well. Then Monday, Ron's condition had worsened. The Novichok 7, the common cold that Ron was feeling had actually, the symptoms have gotten worse Monday from Sunday. And suddenly it looked like we were not going to be able to do the show. I conferred with Ron and I said to Ron, what would you like us to do? You're the champ. This is one of those moments where champ privileges reigns. You decide. And what Ron did was, he showed that he truly was magnanimous as a podcast dictator when he said, let the Patreon members decide what we do. And I was like, I don't understand. My little feeble 49% brain couldn't handle what was being.
You shut down. You were like
the steam. I started perspiring. It was just like, what? Huh?
I mean, to be fair, that would have happened anyway.
And Ron, you sat there and said to me, go to Patreon, put up a poll, ask the Patreon members, do you want us to not do a show this week? A show can't be done. The Ron and Brian podcast requires both Ron and Brian. Let's wait till Ron feels better. Or Brian, you go do the show by yourself. You're healthy. You're 100%. Yeah, maybe like 98%. But you can do this show. Give Ron a break. You do a solo show. And we put up a poll on Patreon. Obviously, you've got to be, a member. You have to subscribe, minimum of $5 a month, as much as 50 to 100. I think there's 150 tier, the titanium level. Those are just, they're just flying off the shelves, people. It really has turned into.
It's the number one holiday gift of the season, I'm seeing.
All the kids are waking up Christmas morning looking at their parents saying, did you get me a subscription to Ron and Brian Podcast Patreon? Anywho, so we did a poll and it resoundingly came in, do not do the podcast until Ron is 100% ready. I was at my desk. We gave everybody a 7 o'clock Monday timeline, a time frame, went to vote for. And I would say over 60% of the votes that came in were of the vein of, don't do the show without Ron. That's my beef. I can do a show, people. I've done it before. I can do it again. When Ron stumbles, I step up. Okay? Here, thank you, Janelle. You did the right thing. You voted for the solo podcast. Mostly, I believe, because you wanted to see me struggle and sweat profusely, which is, I would have voted also. But holy fuck. Holy long-winded explanation.
I think, Brian,
why can't I do a solo show?
I think you're looking at it the wrong way, Brian. I think people treasure the previous solo show that you did so much. It's been admitted into the Library of Congress. It's in the Smithsonian. People say it's one of the best episodes we've ever done. And I think they were concerned, how another solo episode might take away from that. Like, I look at The Godfather, right? Would your second solo show have been The Godfather 2, or would it have been The Godfather 3? I think that's what people were worried about.
It could have been The Godfather 3, but there was some entertainment value in The Godfather 3. Watching Andy Garcia really shine, that was really where Andy Garcia stepped up to the plate and said, the world, excuse me, I'm here, I exist, watch me act.
And I believe most of the public said no.
No, I think it was Sofia Coppola that they had a problem with.
True. Very true.
That's what's bothering me, people. No faith. No faith in me. No faith in your 49% owner. Ron, what's bothering you?
So my beef, and it's going on, I guess, 2 weeks now of this being my beef, is the Bryant Park Winter Market. Which we visited last Saturday night. It was my lovely wife's birthday weekend. And, I mistakenly said, whatever you want to do for your birthday weekend, we'll do it. and
Sure.
you bought into it, which is why, Friday night we were at our friends at Broken Goblet for
Sure.
Taylor Swift trivia, and then a Taylor Swift cover band. I know you enjoyed that so much. And then the next day, driving, up to New York or to West New York to your ivory tower, and then heading over to the Bryant Park Winter Market. So many people. So many people. Just
Yep.
What is it? Would you say it's like a square block, the size of where this winter market is?
I would say that it basically runs from it's not even a full city block, because on the east side of the Winter Village is the New York Public Library. So it doesn't even go fully from 5th to 6th.
Right.
I would say it's probably 2/3 of a city block.
And so there were,
but it does go from 40th to 42nd, so it's 2 streets.
It's 2 streets, but but in that space they probably jammed 100 vendors. I would say.
I would imagine almost. I would say probably more than that. But
just thousands and thousands of people out in the cold. Germs floating around.
Ron, if you want to say what kind of friend am I, push comes to shove, what kind of friend am I, do you want to tell people what I did for your wife?
So my wife, well, first of all, my wife has been fixated on this fixated on this Bryant Park Winter Festival for weeks and weeks and weeks, sending me TikToks of all the different over-the-top food items that were for sale there, available there to purchase and to enjoy. The flip side of that coin is Brian sending me TikToks showing the mass of humanity that is crammed into that space, the millions of people in Times Square, the lines for the food, people in line for 2, 3, 4 hours, just
every
to get
reason not to go. Correct.
So anyway, my wife decides that the one thing she wants is this was Strawbello was the name of the place.
Strawberro, I believe. Yes, I believe it was their Dubai strawberry.
Dubai chocolate straw. So it was a cup, a decent sized cup with strawberries, melted Belgian chocolate, like a pistachio drizzle, and then chopped pistachios on top. First of all, $27 for this cup of strawberries. But you, my friend, you waited in line, what was it, 90 minutes to procure said strawberries?
It was about an hour and a half. We entered the village, and before we got to the Winter Village, your wife was sitting there saying how she wanted to try all these different food items. And I thought it was very important to set expectations, because I did not want her to go there and have a bad time or to be disappointed. And I just said to her, I was just like, listen, we're going the Saturday in December. It's going to be very crowded. The food lines are going to be very long. I said, what I would do if I were you is I would pick the one thing that you want, the one thing that you said, like you came here for and you don't want to walk away without trying. And that's the line that we wait on. And if we go there, we get you that thing. Then we can go check out other lines and see if they're reasonable. But like, if you just show up there being like, I'm going to eat like 7 different things, you're not going to get any of them because the lines are going to be way too long. So we got there and I said to her, all right, what's the one thing you want? And she said, I want these strawberries. I've been seeing them everywhere. I love these strawberries. And I was like, it's your birthday weekend. I am going to make the ultimate sacrifice of not being able to walk through this Winter Village at like 98% capacity, not being able to experience being like the walking crammed in with strangers bumping into you left and right. I'm going to sacrifice all this, and I'm going to walk over there, just wait online by myself, where I could just hang out on my phone and not have to worry about, every different vendor booth sending you little tchotchkes that are just going to take up space in your home. I made that sacrifice, and I waited in line for about 90 minutes for your wife so she could get these. How many times did you guys walk by telling me, give up, it's not worth it?
I mean, it was a couple of times. We brought you hot cocoa at one point.
Sure.
And then there was a time where we were just like, if you want to get out of the line, But you had apparently already paid for the strawberries at that point, and we're
By
just
that
waiting
point,
in the second line.
By that point, it was just like, listen, I'm at the I'm in the bottom of the ninth at this point. But by the first time you came by, I was like, I've already put in 45 minutes, and I've made some serious headway on this line. It would just be a waste for me to give up. Then I've just wasted 45 minutes doing absolutely nothing. So we got the strawberries. I will say this: pleasant surprise.
Delicious.
They were damn good strawberries.
They were.
And your wife said they were some of the best strawberries she's ever had. The richness of the chocolate was just out of this world. I just and also I'll just say this: the joy I had over watching people approach the counter, thinking
they could just walk up to the window and order,
roll up an order, and then sit there and be like, where do I order from? And getting the opportunity to say to them, oh no, sir, you have to wait on a line that starts on the other side of the carousel.
You got to go to the other side of the park and get in line, sir.
You're looking at like an hour 15. Like watching the look of disappointment and watching people give up on their dreams. It warmed me up in a way like nothing else, because the sun had gone down and there were times where I could not feel my fingertips.
It got cold when the sun went down. I mean, it was great. Like, and we didn't even get you the really good hot chocolate, because there was a place that apparently had the best hot chocolate there.
Sure.
And we go over and there's a line, and my wife's like, oh, that line's not too long. I'm like, oh, that's just the line to get into the store. I'm like, that's the hot chocolate line. And it literally ran the length of the market out to one of the blocks and down the block.
Sure.
Easily 100 people waited online for hot chocolate.
Yeah, not worth it. Not worth it. But I'm glad that I made that. But it is just there is something about the impact. And I listen, at the end of the day, this is what it's done to our society, good or bad. It's just the reality of it, is that social media has just absolutely aped certain trends and caused people to, want to be able to participate in those trends. You could see the line of, the people that were on these lines. It was all, there weren't people there because they like strawberries. It was most of them were there because they wanted to do something they saw other people doing on social media.
They were there for the clout, Brian.
Yeah.
And trying to buy stuff in some stores. So you had sent me a TikTok where one of the vendors said that they paid $25,000 for their space, plus a 15% cut of their revenues. Yeah. So like just some quick back of the envelope math. Like you would have to net $1,000 in profit each day from one of those stands just to break even.
Which means that they are. Which means
you have to think
that's the amount of money that's flowing into that park. And the thing is this: robbers nobody takes cash.
Right.
Don't show up there thinking that you're gonna like stick up one of these vendors and make a lot of money. There's no money. It's all credit cards. It is all Apple Pays. People are paying on their phones. Nobody's carrying cash anymore. My heart goes out to those stick up men and women that are walking around there thinking like, where can they go, rob someplace for just a bag of cash? You don't see that anymore.
But and it's funny because there were signs up all over the winter market, like, don't hand your phone to somebody to take your picture. Like that was a big one around the Christmas tree. Like, don't share your phone with a stranger to take your photo. You won't get it back. Like there was a bunch of stuff like watch where your wallet is. Like, all right, I feel very.
Wait a second. Protected. Time out. There was a sign that says don't hand your phone to someone.
Yeah.
Oh, because the first time I went with my nieces, I offered to take somebody's photo and they were like, no. And I was just like, okay, go fuck yourself. No. It suddenly makes sense because there was a picture. This couple were trying to take like a selfie of them and you could see the angle is awkward. And I was just standing there. I was just like, hey, do you want me to take your photo? And they were like, no. And I just thought to myself, okay, well, go fuck yourself. You're going to get a shitty photo. I tried to do a good deed today. Take some random people's photo with their phone. Now I realize why they said no to me. Not because I'm creepy. Not because I'm creepy looking.
Maybe a little column A, a little column B. Sorry, my friend. Well, let's get on to our stories of the week. I feel we have two great stories this week. Some of the best ones we've had since we started this segment. These are the stories that we want to make sure we get to before we run out of time, as we seem to quite often. We tend to go off on tangents every now and then. So, Brian, what is your story of the week this week?
My story of the week is a politician allegedly using their political power for bad, for using it
What?
for using their power to get sexual favors from a direct report, from an aide. This is a story that we have seen so often in American politics, and it just ruins me. These are people that are elected by the American populace to represent us in government, to make the country a better place. And to hear that these lawmakers are using their power to force direct reports to have sexual relations with them is disgusting, and it needs to stop. And this story is just one more to be added on to America's list of just shameful politicians. Do we have a photo? I'm sure this is a 85-year-old Republican. Oh, hello there. You are looking at Emily Klaus, who is 30 years old, reported by the British Daily Mail as a glamorous Washington state lawmaker, supposedly entered a mutually consensual dating relationship with an unnamed man who was a aide in her office. They entered into this sexual relationship after she became elected as a commissioner in Thurston County, which includes the state capital of Olympia. However, the aide alleges he felt unable to reject her advances because of the power she held over him. And he said the romance became increasingly unwelcome. It was clear to him, however, that if he wanted to remain employed, he would need to continue his personal, intimate relationship of a sexual nature with Commissioner Klaus. His claim alleges she is said to have exploited the man into driving her around, buying her food and drinks, and loaning her cash, which he says she never paid. Klaus, who was sworn into her role in November of 2023, tried to fire him 30 minutes after he reported her behavior to Thurston County's Human Resources Department, and she subsequently accused the aide of sexually assaulting her. The aide says that the Thurston County officials tried to suppress his claims, allegedly asking him what amount of money it would take to make his claims go away. He was put on administrative leave, with the aide saying that this gives him the impression of being guilty of some type of wrongdoing. This is just, dirty politics. This is just a politician, once again, out of control with the power that has been vested to them by the American people, and just using it for their own personal good. Nobody said anything about whether her choice of hair color, that little green strip, is a good idea, but apparently she has been acting inappropriately.
Thurston County, more like Thirsty County.
Well done. I like that.
Give me a little.
I like that one. That was cute. That was cute.
Give me a little something.
We need a rim shot. We leave a little rim shot like sound there. Ron, what's your story of the week?
So sometimes, Brian, there are stories that you're sold by the headline. It's not clickbait. It's an actual headline that just draws you in. So the headline of this story, Brian: American clown school student sentenced to year in jail for smuggling a gold-plated gun. How many times have you seen that happen, Brian?
Way too many.
Brian, so this young lady here, this is Lillian Goodson. She is a 30-year-old American. She was going into Australia April of last year. She was there to attend clown school. Apparently America's clown schools aren't good enough anymore. Another reason Biden needed to be voted out is clown school deficiency has among the lowest. We need to get that
used to
back
be
up. Something
we were so proud of, that we had the best clown schools in the world.
So she apparently had packed a $3,000 gold-plated gun in her luggage. When she arrived at Sydney Airport, customs officers said, "Do you have any prohibited items on her?" She said, "No, of course I don't." They then pointed to the gold-plated gun in her luggage, which is when she said verbatim, quote, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Unfortunately, and this is the best. This is why I love people who leave a trail of what they do. A quick look through her search history revealed a trail of evidence suggested that she did in fact remember she had the gun on her. She had searched questions like, "Can I have a gun in my suitcase?" and set a calendar reminder that read, "Put gun in suitcase."
Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
Oh my God. No, I have a legitimate question to ask.
All right. Yes, please.
Why would or why would not? What would be the grounds for the police to go through her phone? Like, I understand, like, your wife's missing and they're going to look for your, search history. We've seen people get caught countless times over stupid searches like that. But basically, just being arrested gives the police the opportunity to go through your phone.
I mean, I guess they were able. I don't know if they took her phone or they took her computer. Apparently, they were able during the discovery process to find this information. She later said that the gun was just to deter potential threats, that she was scared of actually shooting it. She said, "I probably wouldn't shoot it. I probably would just pistol whip somebody." But yeah, so this week she was sentenced to a year in jail, 4 months of it in full-time custody. So she is appealing that case, but Australia has very, very strong laws against firearms. And many are saying this prison term is meant to send a clear message to anyone tempted to try and smuggle weapons into the country.
Okay, I don't blame it.
Classic clown college student goes wrong story. I mean, how many times have we covered that in the 38 years that we've been doing this podcast?
Who's entering clown college right now? It's 2024. I mean, like, don't you just want to join the Trump administration? Like, isn't it don't you get the same like thrill?
I'm fascinated by Australian clown college now. I need to find out where it is, how much it is, what the prerequisite is. Because I have to imagine not anybody can go into clown college. Like, there has to be certain prerequisites that needs to be made.
I mean, do you have to get like your local Thurston County commissioner to approve your application?
You would think, like, you have to get some references. I would imagine there's an essay involved, why I want to be a clown.
I imagine you have to talk about why Krusty the Clown is your favorite clown of all time.
Which horns squeak loudest. Oh, interesting. Allie's saying maybe this was a clown college PR stunt. I mean, that could be, there's no such thing as bad advertising, bad publicity, they should say. So, Brian, let's get into the meat of our stories. Luigi Mangione, hero of the people, was extradited from Pennsylvania back to New York City to face charges in the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Am I remembering that name correctly?
Brian Thompson. Listen, this is if I know I've been accused of being cynical. So I understand right off the bat, I don't have the level of optimism that other people do. And I sometimes, kind of most of the time, I look at people's behavior through incredibly poor, what's the word I'm thinking of, filters. Right. Where I think that they've got some of the their motivations are the worst that we come up with. If you are looking to sit there and see what the political environment is, if you are looking for what law enforcement's actions are going to be when a member of the elite gets executed by somebody who's not in the elite, this is a perfect example of it. You've got people in New York City being shot on the streets of multiple boroughs. People get killed, shot in the Bronx every week. There is no mass movement by the New York Police Department, by the country's media to sit there and turn that story into the number one story going on. But somehow, if a CEO gets killed, the drumbeat for vengeance, for retribution. Dare we you even use that word? It just shows how the powers that be will circle the wagons into anything that will shake their power over society, or anything that may shake, the perception of power. You had a kid who took out the CEO of a healthcare company because he was the CEO of a healthcare company. And it was responded to as if this was the worst murder ever, like bin Laden level attention.
Right.
I see you've got the photo of this kid being brought into
the perp walk, as they like to say.
The perp walk. Let's see this photo and walk me through exact. By the way, this is right off the bat. If they thought that they were not creating an iconic visual for the common person to stand up and speak out against the aggression of the elite, they've reinforced it here. They made him put on an orange jumpsuit while everyone is wearing a version of black or blue or whatnot, just to make him stand out. And I'm going to tell you something. If this kid looked more like a hero, it was him. A lot of people are making references to
NYPD officers, you've got ATF, you've got FBI, you've got people with automatic weapons, escorting. I mean, there must be, I would count 15 to 20 people, and to escort a man who is shackled, wrists, ankles, and waist. He's not a threat to anybody. No one is going to threaten him. No one's going to try and assassinate Luigi Mangione.
In this photo, I need to point out one thing. This is not an original idea. This is not something I came up with. I saw this elsewhere. If you look over Luigi's shoulder, there is a bald man wearing a what looks like a blue overcoat and a scarf. That man is New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who himself was arrested about 2 weeks ago, I would say, on multiple charges of bribery, fraud. I'm sure there's other charges that I cannot think of. He jumped out there as soon as he was arrested and gave a press conference to sit there and say, listen, I'm speaking to the American people about the need for us not to make a rush to judgment. Simply because the police feel they have a case does not mean that I am guilty. And I want everybody to keep an open mind about what the charges are against me. 2 weeks later, this kid gets arrested, and Eric Adams suddenly shows up for a perp walk. Mayors don't show up for perp walks.
Right.
And when asked about it, they said, Mayor Adams, what are you doing here? And he said, I wanted to make sure that when Luigi got off that helicopter, that he saw my eyes and he knew that we were serious about justice. Where is that same claim for open-mindedness for Luigi? Why is it that Mayor Adams is sitting there being like, whoa, 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 I got charged something? People, keep an open mind. But hold on, somebody else gets arrested? Oh, hold on, I'm the law. What a piece of garbage this guy is.
I saw this video on TikTok where a woman was talking about this photo, and she's like, we see in this photo an individual who has made New York City less safe than it has been in years and years and years. And that individual is right over Luigi's right shoulder. Okay. It's Mayor Eric. It's Mayor.
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
Yeah. So
unbelievable.
I have also learned that apparently a fade taper haircut earns you a shit ton of respect in prison.
Well, it's not the fact that he got the haircut. Okay, people, this is where you realize that Ron and I are doing deep dives. We're doing deep dives here. If you look at Luigi's haircut when he was arrested in Altoona, PA, by the way, fuck McDonald's in Altoona, PA, you snitches. I will never eat at McDonald's again, you snitch bastards. Sorry, had to be said. I will never fucking eat in Altoona, Pennsylvania. The whole city could rot for all I care. You're a bunch of snitches. If you look at Luigi's hair when he was arrested, he had unkept hair. Would it be safe to say?
It was
his eyebrows were
unkempt. Yes,
they were becoming a unibrow, whatnot. And he was arrested. There was multiple videos of him being walked into jail. Now he is transferred out of the local Pennsylvania jail that he was at, transferred to New York. Suddenly, homeboy shows up with a taper fade haircut, eyebrows on fleek,
clean, crisp,
edged. Now you ask yourself, "Ooh, my boy over here got a nice haircut," but it's the specific type of haircut he got. Apparently, the taper fade in jail, because who gives haircuts in jail? Other prisoners. This isn't like they're not inviting, Luigi the barber to come in, to the local barber. I just imagine there's the Luigi is an Italian barber out there. No, the prisoners. This is a haircut that is only given to high-ranking prisoners. This is a haircut that is given to prisoners to let law enforcement, to let corrections officers know that this is somebody that we as prisoners look up to, that we hold in high regard and esteem.
And he's not to be touched. He is not to be harmed.
Anything happens to him, there will be retribution to corrections officers. Like the level of tears going on. Like if you got a shit haircut, corrections officers sit there, look at it, and they're like, we can fuck with you. But the taper fade apparently is a way for prisoners to communicate to corrections officers, this one is ours, don't you fuck with him. So Luigi is apparently having not too hard of a time in jail, which makes me feel better. I would free this kid tomorrow, and if somebody told me where to send money to for his defense fund, I would go along with it.
And Ali points out something which I also found out earlier this week and was fascinated by. Luigi has a new lawyer. She is married to the lawyer representing P. Diddy.
Whoa! What happened to my cousin Vinny in Pennsylvania?
So he was replaced by a new lawyer. I feel she is more. He obviously. I don't want to say he seemed like he was a little out of his league, but he didn't seem like a strong power attorney.
He seemed like the perfect attorney for Luigi Mangione. I will say maybe he does not have a New York State law license, which is why she's stepping in. But yeah, I saw that fact also. And at the end of the day, let's face it, a court of law will likely prove Luigi guilty. It didn't help that Luigi held on to the gun. Or the fake ID he used at the hostel, or his little manifesto, which I have not read yet, but I will read, talking about how you need to exact revenge against healthcare executives. Didn't help that he had all this on him. But I would love to think of a world where
saying that they will probably attempt to get him found innocent by reason of insanity. So he's going to be locked up one way or another. He's going to be in a prison or he's going to be in a mental institution. Karen Friedman Agnifilo is his new attorney, and she means business.
Sure. Let's listen. Let's make sure he lives a comfy life. But also, speaking of comfy lives, who will not be leading a comfy life is the McDonald's employee who snitched on him because they thought they were going to get a $50,000 reward.
Oh no!
No! You got to follow the rules. And the rules for that reward that the FBI put up was that if you're going to snitch on Luigi Mangione, you're going to have to call the FBI hotline with your hot tip, so the FBI can come in and arrest him. What did the McDonald's employee do? Called local 911.
Yep. Took the wind out of the FBI sails, so now you don't get that money.
You ain't getting that money. Not my fault. You know what? Fuck you. How
So
dare you say? Do you know who also needs to go down? And I know you want to move on, but I'm also going to say this quickly. You know who also needs to go down is the CEO of the company that
made the backpack.
made the backpack, who called the FBI to say, I recognize that backpack. And if you find that backpack and you get me the registration number on that backpack, I will let you know who registered that backpack. And that's how they came up with the name Luigi Mangione.
You know who else needs to go down,
dare
Brian?
you?
You know who else needs to go down? Pizza shops in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Because
Can we talk about that?
this photo right here is Altoona style pizza. So apparently,
Is that American cheese?
Apparently, Altoona style pizza is you make a pizza, and then at the end you put a slice of green pepper on top, and then you put a American cheese single on top of it, and then you melt that cheese down a little bit. If
Now, is there mozzarella underneath it or no?
That I'm not 100% sure. I'm
green
just
pepper.
It's a green pepper and American cheese. This is the most unholy concoction. I think I'd rather eat pineapple on pizza than have a slice.
Oh, most definitely. And honestly, I had a problem with Detroit style where it was just like 9 million little pieces of pepperoni on a pizza. Nobody needs that much pepperoni on pizza.
But they're heaping it like
that is an atrocity.
So let's see. What else do we have? Oh, speaking of NYPD, so you have to think that, with NYPD really being about, justice, they must be beyond reproach inside their own walls, Brian.
Of course.
Unfortunately,
who are they?
Not the case, as former Chief of Department Jeffrey Madry is now being investigated in a sex for overtime allegation. A subordinate claimed that Madry had sex with her in exchange for massive amounts of overtime. He resigned Friday night after inquiries from the Post about claims from Lieutenant Quathisha Epps. She told the Post in an interview that Madry would have sex with her in his 13th floor office at One Police Plaza. He propositioned her after she revealed she was in financial distress. She claimed in a tear-filled interval, quote, he demanded to have anal sex, vaginal sex, oral sex. He was always asking me to kiss his penis. Madry, who denied the allegations, resigned on the spot after inquiries from the Post. Now, she had also most recently made headlines. We have a photo of her here winning an award.
Ron, don't blame the victim.
I'm not blaming the victim, but she also made headlines recently as the NYPD's highest paid employee while working an administrative job in Madry's office. She made more than $400,000 last year, including about $200,000 in overtime.
Ron, if I were to kiss your penis, do I get to be 51% owner again?
You do not. There is a lovely. I'd give you a swag bag. I think that I have a swag bag here that I hand out for that kind of thing.
So that quid pro quo does not work in the podcast world.
It does not.
Very disappointing.
Also, NYPD officers were also out today in Queens, threatening Amazon workers on their picket line. To arrest them, telling them they were going to spend years in jail, what have you. So the NYPD is nothing more than a militarized force at this point.
Yes, which I think we understand. I mean, I think this is, thank God, what St. Luigi has brought to the surface is that the police are there to enforce the current power dynamic with the wealthy, with the power brokers of society, and to ensure that the masses, that the powerless never get anything. I mean, that is exactly what the police are there for. They're there to ensure that the status quo stays the same and that nothing changes. And it's disgusting.
Well, and we are working hard here on the Ron and Brian podcast to turn the have-nots into haves. And how do we do that? We do that by sharing with you our NFL locks of the week.
Locks.
Brian, not even close this week. You had LA Rams -3 against the Jets, Detroit -6.5. against Chicago. You could have doubled those lines and still been perfect this week. Kudos to you again, my friend. Just absolute kudos. Spectacular performance.
Listen, I don't think this is anything that you can sit there and say that I needed to stress out about, because this is something that is just this is something that I try to do week in, week out, which is to just stay close to you. You are walking in here every week with win after win after win. Your picks this week, Ron, the Cardinals were laying 4.5 against the Panthers. You sat there and said, I don't need the 4.5. Give me the Panthers. You saw the Vikings laying 2.5 over the Seahawks. You said, give me the Vikings. Seahawks win by 3. The threading of the needle that you bring to the table week in, week out, which is why you are 32-0 this football season. How do you do it?
Listen, you push me to be greater, but more importantly, let's give an early Christmas present to our listeners. Who are your locks of the week for the holiday weekend games?
For this coming week, my locks are such. I like the Chargers -5.5 over the Patriots. I thought the Patriots played somewhat decent ball against the Buffalo Bills this week, but not good enough, and they're not going to be able to do it again. Colts also taking on the New Jersey Giants, who happen to be, in my opinion, the 2024 NFL team that is the closest thing I've seen to the Chicago White Sox. Colts are laying 6.5. You could double that number, and I would say you lay those points. Chargers, Colts, you bet heavy, you bet often. That's where my money is going.
All right, very nice. My picks, you say? Sure, I'll share.
Ron,
yes.
Would you share your picks?
I like 2 road favorites this upcoming weekend. I like Baltimore -3 at the Houston Texans and Seattle -1.5 at the Bears. So bet heavy, but bet with your head, not over it. But fill those stockings with gambling cash, people.
Absolutely. Show yourself that not only do you care about yourself, but you also care about your family.
There you go. Crazy story. We've talked about people visiting Dubai and ending up with potential prison sentences because of partying, debauchery, public intoxication, everything else. Well, this is a new one, Brian. This is an individual who may be spending Christmas away from home in Dubai after posting a negative Google review. This is Craig Ballantyne. He is from Northern Ireland. He was arrested in Abu Dhabi airport back in October because he posted critical comments about his former employer in Dubai. He said he has paid a fine and was given a month-long social media ban, but now there is a court appeal in his case. Apparently, the court feels that maybe the punishment wasn't severe enough. So he could be spending Christmas in prison there. In 2023, he got a job in a dog grooming salon in Dubai. After working there for almost 6 months, he needed time off due to illness and gave his employer a doctor's note for it. But when he did not show up for work, he was registered as absconded with the UAE authorities, which meant he could not leave the country. Like, that's crazy. You're working someplace. You're going to work, you can't leave the country. He later managed to get that travel ban lifted and went home to Northern Ireland, but doing so took 2 months and cost him thousands of pounds. When he was back in Northern Ireland, he wrote an online review of the dog grooming salon. He returned. This was his mistake. Then after that, he returned to the UAE for a short holiday, at which point he was immediately arrested for the alleged slander.
Oh, well, I think you just got to be careful when you are not living in America. I mean, the freedoms that we have in America, Ron, you got to make sure that you just don't have them everywhere, and you got to be careful. I mean, This is why you don't leave America.
Exactly. If you go overseas, you risk whatever tragedy might befall you. Brian, celebrity obituaries real quick. We lost 2 amazing individuals over the past couple of weeks. I mean, we lost more, but a couple that are really near and dear to us. First, the amazing Kreskin,
The amazing Kreskin
podcast,
was
former
on the show.
guest on the podcast,
Is he the
passing
first?
away.
Is he the first guest to have passed away?
I believe he may have been. I
Can
haven't.
somebody check on Preeti
Yeah.
Upala? and
Preeti
see-
Upala?
Make sure she's okay.
But yeah, so at the age of 89, I mean, again, he lived a long life. He lived a good life. I mean, he really lived a life doing what he wanted to do. And, you know, you would think he would have seen it coming. He should have been able to predict his pending demise, but we will miss him. Seeing as that, here's an idea, Brian. We're going to be off next Sunday between Christmas and New Year's. Maybe we do a best of and we replay the amazing Kreskin episode so people can realize what a tremendous asset he was to the Ron and Brian community at large.
That's a great way to show how special he was in our hearts.
There you go. And then I think it was yesterday or the day before.
It was yesterday.
We received word that Rickey Henderson, Major League Baseball Hall of Famer, passing away after a short bout with pneumonia at the age of only 65 years old. And people, they toss around superlatives in the sports world, but hands down, Rickey Henderson, greatest leadoff hitter of all time, greatest stolen base leader 100%. Of all time. I mean, I think someone said there isn't an active player within 1,000 stolen bases of his record right now.
He was just, I saw a statistic earlier today that there was a game he played where he went 0 for 0 with 4 runs and 5 stolen bases. The guy knew how to get on base. And when he got on first, his goal was, I'm going to make my way over to second. And when he got to second, it was, I'm not done yet. I'm going to get myself over to third. And he was not waiting for the next hitter to move him forward. He literally stood there and said, okay, now I'm on base. I'm going to start stealing bases. You know, I saw a interview earlier this week with Harold Reynolds, second baseman from the second baseman from, do you want to talk about it? You might remember better than I do.
So he played he was with the Angels. He was with a few different sports teams, but he talked about how, I forget who he was going. Rickey had gotten injured during the season. And so Harold Reynolds ends up winning the stolen base crown for the season with 60 stolen bases. And so he's like, and so Rickey Henderson calls him and Harold's like, Rickey, you know, not the guy to pick up and call. And he answers the phone. He's like, it's Henderson. You should be ashamed for accepting that award with 60. Rickey going to have 60 by the All-Star break next year.
That's perfect.
And then just hung up the phone.
You reminded me earlier today of the best, my favorite story of about Rickey Henderson. And keep in mind, people, this was Rickey came up during a period of time when we were coming up as kids, you know, just suddenly truly embracing baseball. So Rickey, he predated steroids. There was never any accusations or thoughts that he used any kind of PEDs. He was just one of the hardest working baseball players. But the beautiful thing about him was, and the truth, I mean, I think we can describe it a little cynically as to he literally cared about himself and could not have cared about his teammates. And in hindsight, with the cynical world we're living in now, we have such admiration for that. But you told a story to me earlier today about John Olerud, who was a first baseman. I think he played for Seattle. I think he also played for the Mets. But the thing that made John Olerud different was when he was playing the field, he wore his batting helmet to protect his head. And I'm going to let you take it because you tell the story way better than I.
So Rickey gets traded to a new team, and he sees John Olerud with the wearing the helmet playing out in the field. And Rickey's like, hey, you know what? I played with another guy in this league that used to wear a helmet out in the field. And John Olerud was like, yeah, Rickey, that was me. We've been on the same team before.
Oh, I fucking love
And
it.
then,
Just the
longtime, longtime Giants
stories.
first baseman Will Clark, Will the Thrill,
Mhm.
told a great story too about how Rickey would get on base and the chatter would just be nonstop. And Rickey would even say, he's like, "I'm going to run this next pitch," and
No, it's
like,
never I'm going to run. It would be like Ricky's going to run.
Ricky's going to run. He always referred to himself in
Ricky's
the
going to
third
run on the
person.
next pitch. Like he would announce it.
But he would announce it to Will, and Will would signal his pitcher and the catcher that Rickey was taken off. Wouldn't even matter.
Rickey would steal the base. He was that fast. And the thing was,
I
he
mean,
was so much faster than the next baseball player, like in terms of speed. That like even if you knew he was going to try to steal the second base, you couldn't stop him. You literally could not stop him.
With the new rules in baseball, like it's a lot easier to steal bases right now because of catcher's interference, runners. Can you imagine in today's game how many bases Rickey could steal if he stayed healthy for an entire career?
No, Rickey was he was one in a generation. Like he genuinely was one of those guys that changed the way the game is played, in the sense that before Rickey Henderson entered the league, it was considered, you had a chance to win the stolen base title by stealing 30, 40 bases. Right. And Rickey suddenly came into the league. And keep in mind, I think that the historical record for most stolen bases a season was probably like 60, 65, 70. Like Rickey stole 120. Like he literally entered a game and was just like, I'm going to steal every base every time I can get on. You couldn't stop him. He was too fast. He was faster than anybody. So suddenly he just changed the way the game was played, because now suddenly, you had to know that if you put a guy on first base, you're looking at a potential triple, know, and that was not the case in the way baseball was played before.
And that was why he was such a great leadoff hitter, because you didn't want to risk walking him.
Right.
First play of the game, because if he was on base with no outs, he's going to be on third base by the time there's 2 outs.
Sure. Oh, by one out, he's going to steal second, and then he'll move forward on a sac fly. Like he was just wild. Rickey, you will be missed. There's a book on Amazon called Rickey, which is a biography on him. It seems to be one of the only ones out there. I am very much looking forward to reading it. I purchased a copy of it back in October for a buddy of mine, a friend of the show, Mr. Hyman. He's got Rickey was his favorite player of all time.
Right.
So I purchased that book for him back in October. He was just like, you know what? We've been talking about doing a book club for years. That's the book we're going to do it on.
Is that your friend Buster?
Buster, yes. That is
Buster,
that was
Buster
his college.
Hyman?
That was his college nickname, Buster. He has it etched on a Scotch bottle that he got for his birthday.
So I have to tell you, I thought about you while I was out Christmas shopping today, because we were in the game section and there was a Domino's set. It said Domino's and Mexican Train. And I thought to myself, Mexican Train, that was like Brian's specialty when he was in college. I remember those days. And like, I feel like, are you making any money off of that because they stole your title?
Not anymore. No.
Let's squeeze a quick story in here before the day is over.
Let's do one more for the year.
An Illinois grandmother tragically died after she got trapped by her malfunctioning Sleep Number bed for 2 whole days. The tragedy unfolded when Rosalind Roz Walker's mattress suddenly lowered itself without warning in her Godfrey home on March 1st of last year, pinning the 80-year-old against her wall. She wasn't freed until roughly 48 hours later when emergency crews responded to her home and took her to the hospital. She was treated for unspecified injuries, then transferred to a rehabilitation clinic, and later hospice care in her home, dying just weeks later on April 3rd. Her daughter, Angela Moan, slapped the company with a lawsuit on Tuesday, alleging the defective bed is to blame for her death.
Yeah, I would say so.
You think so?
I hope she wins, but I got to say, like, when we have always seemed to have like a spot in our hearts for people who die terrible deaths.
Yes.
That goes in top 10 of all time.
What does do we have a photo of the CEO of Sleep Number? Just
No,
saying.
but
Maybe we need to put that out there.
Luigi, if you were out there, tell your minions, take out the Sleep Number.
like, isn't Sleep Number supposed to be a nice bed?
I had a Sleep Number years ago. I did like it. Yeah. So, but I did not have it with the adjustable base. I wasn't that kind of fancy. But well, folks, as we mentioned, this is the last episode of 2024. In about 25 minutes, we'll be doing our last After Dark of 2024. If you are not a Patreon member, you can join us. Go to ronandbrianpodcast.com. Click in the upper right-hand corner. We're having our pajama party tonight where we have all of our Patreon subscribers on, and we are doing Can You Beat Brian? It's where our subscribers take on Brian in a test of smarts. No one knows what the trivia topic will be tonight, but I feel it's another home run. So join us at 9:30. Join us for the new year. Plenty of stuff for that first episode in January 2025. A lot of stuff is going to be going on. We have to look back on our predictions for 2024 and make our predictions for 2025. We will be getting ready for playoff season in the NFL. Playoffs. So we'll have those locks of the week going on. It's going to be a great year. What are you looking forward to the most, Brian, in 2025?
No. We talk about that in 2025, where we will be doing our annual predictions. One of the highlights of my year is when we look back on the year before at the predictions we made, and we look at the predictions for the year ahead. That's where I think you'll be able to answer your question most accurately.
All right, sounds good. Anything else, Brian, before we wrap this episode up?
I joked about it earlier, but I'm going to be dead serious here. If you are sitting there looking for a last-minute Christmas gift, I'm not going to say holiday gift because we know. Listen, we marketed ourselves to the Hanukkah crowd. They did not respond well.
Didn't bite. Did not.
They
bite.
were not interested. However, I will say the Christmas crowd. If you're looking for a last-minute Christmas gift, you need to go to our Patreon right now. You can actually sign up somebody else. You do not need to
give a gift subscription.
A gift subscription. Do it now. Go to patreon.com/Ron and Brian podcast thingamajig. Not sure about that, so I'm going to tell you. Go to our website. Click the link in the upper right-hand corner, but where it says Patreon. Sign up your loved one. Give them the gift of a Patreon subscription. Every week they get a bonus, a minimum 30 minutes of material that we're not putting out there for the masses. It's just for the select few, people who are wise enough, cultured enough, sophisticated enough to know that the Patreon, the After Dark content that we do, that's where the real brilliance of Ron and Brian are there. And you will be thanked by your loved one.
I mean, where are you going to go for last minute Christmas gift? The stores picked over. Bryant Park filled to the rafters with people.
Of course.
Are you going to end up getting people gas station sushi for Christmas again because you waited to the last minute? No. Get them something that will make them sick to their stomachs, but consistently throughout the year, a gift subscription to the Ron and Brian Patreon.
There you go.
All right. Well, Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy New Year. Merry Kwanzaa.
We'll see you in 2025, people.
Yes, we will see you next year. Patreon, folks, we will see you in a few minutes.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com. See you again next week.